What's going on everyone, you're back with your boy Jono for another quick math lesson. Today we're going to learn how to divide fractions, and this is a topic that is a little bit difficult to conceptualize. So we're going to do a visualization first, and then we're going to learn a trick to get these right every single time. One thing that we want to learn before we get into this lesson is, what is dividing? We need to remember that dividing is saying, hey, how many times does this thing fit into the original number? So 15 divided by 5, we know the answer is 3. But what that actually means is that 5 fits into 15 3 times exactly. That idea of fitting in might help us visualize what these division of fractions actually looks like. We could have a question that looks something like this: 1 over 4 divided by 1 over 2. And that's really difficult to conceptualize what that actually means. But using our idea of division that we just talked about, what this question is really saying is, hey, how many times does a half fit into a quarter? That again is a little bit weird to think about, but we're going to see this in an example. We're going to draw it out first, and we're going to see if we can get to that answer. So here I've got a representation of what a quarter is. A circle, and the pink is 1/4. Then I want to see how many times does a half fit into that quarter. Again, a little bit weird, but I'm going to draw my half a pizza on top of this. Now I've got half the pizza, or that blue bit, on top of this as well. So there's only one little bit of overlap. This little red section I've drawn in here, that's half of the blue bit. So the answer for how many times does a half fit into a quarter? Well, half of it fits in. So the answer for this one is 1 over 2. I know that is a little bit confusing. It's hard to visualize why that is, but we're going to see one more example, and we're just going to get this idea of, hey, how many times does the second number, or the second fraction, fit into the first fraction? This time we've got 1 over 2 divided by 1/4, so the exact opposite of that last question. This time in the pink, I've got the whole half. What I'm going to do is see how many quarters fit into this half. Well, I've got 1/4 up the top and a second quarter down the bottom, so the answer for this is 2. 2 quarters fit into 1/2. I do know that these are a little bit confusing, and you just are probably thinking, hey, I want to know what the formula is. I don't care about all this visualization, but this fundamental idea of how many times does it fit in is a really good thing to think about as you try to approach these questions. The big shortcut, what you've probably been waiting for, is just this motto: keep it, change it, flip it. So what that means is that we keep the first number, we keep that the same. Change means we're going from a divide to a times, and then flip means we flip the second fraction, or the last fraction. And we're going to see this using our whole numbers first. So here I've got 15 divided by 5, which is the same as 15 over 1 divided by 5 over 1, right? They're just over 1. We usually just don't write that. So now using our keep it, change it, flip it, I'm going to keep the first fraction the same. 15 over 1 stays the same. That divide goes to a times, right? Change it. And then I've got to flip this last fraction, 1 over 5. Now I've just got multiplication, and I know how to do that easily. Times the top times the bottom. 15 times 1 is equal to 15. 1 times 5 is equal to 5. So I'm left with the fraction 15 over 5, and that's equal to 3. I already knew the answer was going to be 3, but this idea of keep it, change it, flip it works every time, and using these whole numbers is a good way to illustrate this point, because we already knew what the answer was going to be. And this also worked for the examples we did with the pizza. If I had a half divided by a quarter, I already know the answer is 2, we've worked that out, but we're going to see this using this keep it, change it, flip it. So I'm going to keep the half exactly, turn the divide into a times, and then go 4 over 1 instead of 1 over 4. This means I've got 1 times 4 and 2 times 1, 4 over 2. 4 over 2 is 2, so I got the answer I was expecting using this method of keep it, change it, flip it. That's the big takeaway from this lesson. If you remember that, you're going to be sweet. This also works when we're not just dealing with ones. So this time I've got 3 over 5 divided by 6 over 7. So what I'm going to have to do is 3 over 5, keep the same, times 7 over 6. We know that we just times the top times the bottom. That's 21 over 30. Both of these are multiples of 3, so I'm going to take out 3 as a common factor, which leaves me with 7 over 10. Done. That is our full mark. The best thing about these division questions is you actually get an extra mark. Multiplication, you usually get 1, maybe 2 marks, but because you've done some work beforehand, the times and the flip, you get 1 mark just for rewriting the question with that keep it, change it, flip it. So it's a really good way to boost your marks without having to do any extra maths. So the big takeaways: keep it, change it, flip it. I want you to write this out. Maybe not keep, change, flip, but I want you to write out your first step of working every single time. I will give you a mark for that because I can see what you're thinking of doing. Then we're just doing multiplication of a fraction. Times the top, times the bottom, and simplify if you need to. This is a great way to boost your results because you get an extra mark for working without having to think about anything. Hey, divide becomes times, flip the fraction. Please do write down, keep it, change it, flip it somewhere on your test, because if you do forget it, it's a crappy way to lose a mark. Thanks so much for watching this lesson, and I'll see you later.